I'm gonna get a little vulnerable here. When I was 13.
When she was 13.
When she was 13. Just a reminder, this is a spoiler-heavy podcast. Different series that require a spoiler warning will be in the description. Hi everyone, this is Leo, the Geek Scorpio, and I wanted to welcome you to the special episode of Gaming Theater Podcast, recorded live at Gem State Gaming Convention. Hope you enjoy it, and now back to the show. Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Gaming Theater Podcast. Today's episodes, we're going to be talking about Gary Sue's and Mary Sue's and the exceptions to and sort of rules that they kind of fit under. It'll make sense as we go, because not every Mary Sue and Gary Stu is a Mary Sue and Gary Sue, and vice versa. That being said, just a quick introduction for ourselves. My name is Leo. I'm also known as the Geek Scorpio, and I'll be your host today for Gaming Theater Podcast. And over to my left is going to be...
My name is Liz. I also go by Zombiehand, and I will be a co-host today.
And over to their left is...
Hi, I'm Darien Smart. I'm from Muses of Mythology, and I'm very excited to be a guest today.
And over to my right is going to be...
Hi, I'm WG Ashwood. I'm your fancy-focused charity host, and I have no character flaws.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ben. I go by El Penguin in Gaming Theater Podcast, and I'm a struggling muscle artist inspiring others through being a buff nerd.
Yeah. So with that, that's a little bit about us, but here's sort of the take for this one. So the terminology for Mary Sue and Gary Sue tends to get thrown around for various different characters. A lot of characters actually fall under the same trope as a Mary Sue and a Gary Sue, and a lot of them do, but they're also some of our most beloved characters that we have of all time, which shouldn't be the case if they're a true Mary Sue or a Gary Sue.
Not necessarily, but we'll get more into that.
Yeah.
So the history of the Mary Sue actually comes from the 1970s. I have a note specifically about it. So it was back when in the 60s and 70s, Star Trek was getting really big, and there were Star Trek fanzines where you could write in your fan fictions, and they would publish them, and you could go to the store and buy these fanzines. And a lot of people were writing their own original characters, and many of them were... They had no flaws. Everybody wanted them. They were perfect. If they had powers, their powers were incredible and couldn't be stopped. So there was a person. I know I have it in here somewhere. I apologize. So it was a woman named Paula Smith wrote a story, her own fan fiction called A Trekkie's Tale, and she sent it into a Star Trek fanzine, and the character...
Sorry, can I?
Yes.
Super important, just detail. Yes, except she didn't send it into a Star Trek fanzine. She and her friend Sharon Ferrero ran a Star Trek fanzine together. So it was her own fanzine. I think that's so important to classify the origin of this concept came from someone who was deep, deep within the fandom itself.
That's actually really good information. So she wrote A Trekkie's Tale, and she named the character Mary Sue. And this character was a parody of all of these traits that many of the Star Trek original characters that people had been writing had. Again, no flaws. Everybody wanted her. Amazing powers, could do no wrong, etc. And just basically a very untouchable, wish fulfillment kind of character. And that's where the Mary Sue initially started. And so it's a term as far back as the 70s, which then became a trope that has proliferated into today.
And that's sort of where we get that kind of hindsight for that one. But different things fall under that category. For the purpose of this podcast, we may interchange Mary Sue for Gary Stu, but they're really the same thing. But that's sort of just colloquially.
But also, my tirade, I have a lot of thoughts about this topic. A lot of the terms for a lot of characters that are labeled Mary Sue tend not to be given to male characters. It is very liberally applied to female characters for having those types of tropes, but people apply it in ways where she's very powerful, therefore she's a Mary Sue, even though there's so many different things that contribute to a Mary Sue, and having one of them doesn't necessarily make it happen. But male characters who have similar character archetypes aren't labeled as Gary Stews. I'm very passionate about this.
Yeah. All right. So
Wait till we get to Star Wars.
No,
I will have feelings.
we really need to highlight those Gary Sues a little bit more, because there's a lot of those main characters whose main character energy is a little too high.
That's definitely. I think we need to highlight some of those for those certain guys that have too high of main character energy. That's like, bro, I love you, but like at least like trip and fall or something. Like a little bit of nerf is all I'm asking.
Oh, you want the Bella Sue, gosh. You want the Bella Swan treatment. You're so perfect, but at least you're clumsy.
That's another thing. So there are many traits that, I'm sorry, I'm going to talk a lot. There are many traits that contribute to a Mary Sue. And one of them is that they either have no flaws or their flaws do nothing but enhance their character. And this is where we see something like with Bella Swan, who she is clumsy, but everyone finds it very cute. Or it's a reason for them to come and rescue her. So she trips and falls, but Edward is there to save her. And if you don't mind me segueing a little bit into Bella. Yeah, go. Okay. So one of my main talking points is that being a Mary Sue isn't necessarily a bad thing, a Mary Sue or a Gary Stew. There's nothing wrong with wish fulfillment. I think that just having the presence of mind to know that that's what it is very important. So you have Bella Swan, who the author Stephanie Meyer has blatantly stated that she wrote her as a blank slate for people to imprint on. So you can say, Bella doesn't have much of a personality, but that's because she's supposed to be me. As I'm reading Twilight, I'm supposed to be Bella. And so in that case, she is very much Mary Sue. Everyone wants her. Edward and Jacob and Tyler and Mike and whoever else, like all the guys want her.
the new guy who just showed up.
The women, the other girls are jealous of her because of what she has, but she kind of has nothing really going for her. But again, she was written in that way, and it's a wish fulfillment. And I think that is an important thing to keep in mind, is that it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, yeah, it's mostly wish fulfillment, or you just want your character to be like that. Like, how do I want to put this? The one crazy wish fulfillment one I could think of is, if anyone here has read or even seen the movie, it's Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. Quality entertainment, but
The book is actually really good. I cried a couple of times while reading it. Phenomenal, actually.
But Abraham Lincoln, by definition, is, okay, I gotta fight all these vampires. I gotta learn how to, he literally uses an axe, not because of any specific reason, I'm better with it than this and everything else. And if you've seen the movie, he literally right crosses somebody with a right cross. Love that part.
And does he have zero flaws and everybody wants him and everybody wants to be him?
Yeah, because he also becomes the 16th president of the United States at that time. And that's a side story for him.
Yeah. I'm sorry if you don't mind me keep going. Another one that I wanted to bring up that is, I just discovered it while doing research for this podcast. A lot of people consider old James Bond a Gary Stew, but he was built sort of as like a power fantasy in a way. So he is, he's suave, he's debonair. He picks up the skills that the other agents don't. He picks them up quicker. Other agents are struggling with it. Of course, he has the ladies all over him. Like, have you seen James Bond?
No.
He's got all of these. He doesn't have many flaws. And there comes a point, anytime he has a MacGuffin, he will inevitably figure out how it works, and it will work for him in whatever situation he's found himself in. So a lot of people don't think that it applies to modern James Bond, but the older James Bonds can fall. Yeah, you're like older James Bonds can kind of fall into that category, and that's a very prolific example of a Gary Stu that's very likable and not a bad thing. It's not necessarily bad that he is a lot, like he's perfect in a lot of ways, and that's.
Well, that brings up an interesting thing, is that, Liz, something you mentioned a couple times, is that every time we say, oh, this character is Barry Sue, this character is a Gary Stu, but that's not bad, but that's not bad, but that's not bad. So I guess the question is, like, why then, well, we can agree, like, James Bond is a great character, like, Bella Swan serves the purpose that she was meant to serve in her narrative. A lot of characters are accused of being Mary Sues for reasons outside of the character or the creator's control. They're still good characters. So I guess the question I want to propose to present to the group is, if it's actually not bad, why do we care then?
We don't. I feel like, so I'm gonna get a little vulnerable here. When I was 13.
When she was 13.
When she was 13.
Sorry, go on.
I'm 38 right now. When I was 13, I wrote my first ever original character. I was inspired. Me and my friend was like, oh my God, I make these characters. You should make one with me. So I made a Dragon Ball Z character.
Twist.
And her name
And
was...
Dragon Ball Z has its own Gary Stu.
Yeah. Goku.
We'll get to that later.
And her name was Lizzie. My name's Liz. I used to go by Lizzie.
Aww.
Specifically spelled the same way. Like, I still remember everything about her. She was a self-insert. Yeah. She was not original. She was not creative. I was 13. It was my first time doing it, but I had fun with it. Mm-hmm. And I would be horrendously embarrassed if anything were to come, if she were to resurface somehow in some way. But
Haunts you.
But I feel like in that instance, again, like I don't have a problem with Mary Sue's or like self-inserts in that way, because now I'm a much better writer.
Yeah.
I create characters all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm, a lot better at rounding them out, but knowing and understanding tropes is a good way to subvert them or play into them in a more creative way. Mm-hmm. So I think that Mary Sue's and Gary Stu's get a bad rap because a lot of people say, I don't like that character. She's too powerful. He's too perfect, whatever. Therefore, they are this. But you can dislike a character without it having to be a Mary Sue. Like, you can... Yeah, but also you can dislike a Mary Sue and have like more complex reasons for disliking them. So I don't know. I just
since you shared and we're so vulnerable, can I share a quote that I found in preparing for this episode?
Okay.
From scholars Angie Frascas and Dan Vera wrote about Mary Sues and kind of the cultural impact of Mary Sue, and they noted that and it's well known that a lot of Mary Sues, especially because it originates in fan fiction, written often by younger folks. Fan fiction is predominantly a space where young women find themselves. Not all, but stay with me here. And so it's a lot of Mary Sue characters who exist in fan fiction are written by 13-year-olds, 13-year-old girls. And they noted how they provide an opportunity for teenage girls to write themselves into popular cultural narratives as the heroes of their own stories. And then in a piece for the Smithsonian, scholar Jackie Mansky noted that some scholars have argued that Mary Sue's open up a gateway for writers, particularly women and members of underrepresented communities, to see themselves in extraordinary characters. Because, hey, let's be honest, for too long, it's a bunch of straight white dudes up there.
Mm-hmm. Now, we've seen something like this happen before. Actually, we've seen something like this happen before, but more in the modern age when we were talking about our isekai episode. Isekais originally started as just fanfiction.
Tell me about a Gary Stu. Is he a character from an isekai? Yes. This man has no personality, and all the women want to. Oh, I shouldn't say that.
Your whole power is this one thing, but man, do you know how to use it?
How about harems? How about harem animes? And reverse harems?
That one gets harder, but they are.
It certainly does get harder.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things, again, that I mentioned earlier was that just because somebody falls into one or two categories of being a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they are. So, you could have somebody who is extremely powerful and their plot armor is their their superpower, but they still have a lot of flaws. They have a lot of complexity to them. People will generally define a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu as being very surface level, very shallow, very like, what's like, not like
Underdeveloped.
underdeveloped. Yeah, that's a good word. And something that, you know, people will say again, like, this person is a Mary Sue because they fall into one category, and that's it. And so I think that that's a big thing to note is, again, just because they fall into one category and they're aggressively in that category doesn't mean that that's what they are.
For a good example of that one, there is several different things, the backstory in Mortal Kombat 1, the movie that came out like a couple of years ago, where the the character literally develops armor because of the plot. He literally has plot
Which
armor.
movie?
Mortal Kombat.
The main character.
He has other stuff going on.
Armor.
I'm in the minority that actually enjoyed that new character in the new Mortal
As a
Kombat
fellow part
movie.
minority, I enjoyed that too.
I thought he was fun. I thought he was a great character, but literally like a plot armor.
Right.
But he has a wife and a daughter, so you know it doesn't matter that all the women
It's
want him.
plot armor for a good cause.
Yeah.
No, actually, since you mentioned isekais, I do like when that Mary Gary Sue trope becomes a little more on the silly thing. So one of my personal favorites is Campfire Cooking in Another World. And of all powers this guy wanted to get, it was online shopping. It's not really useful in like the middle place, so he got isekai last I checked with like 3 other people. By the way, it's a spoiler-heavy podcast. You haven't seen it, that's on you. But everyone had like actual, it was like, oh, I got like great strength stats, I got like great dexterity stats, like I can shop online. Like, we're just gonna ditch this guy. His online shopping led to really good cooking, which led to a god-level familiar coming by. It's like, yo, man, that's some gourmet stuff right there you're cooking. What is that? Like, ha ha ha, what's up? But the familiar decides to stay with him, which he later finds out is blessed by a wind god, and is always by his side because he just loves his cooking. So to introduce like a giant wolf to come by and just be like, what is this? It's teriyaki sauce. Oh, teriyaki. So well, literally, he's like, let me get some more meat. Like, bro, I can just online. No. Let me get some more for you. We'll come back with multiple orcs, a whole dragon, a whole like basilisk. Like, can you cook with this? This thing is way out of my level, but sure. He starts selling it for a profit and becomes the richest person so much that the guilds tell him, we can't stop buying your stuff because we're running out of money.
Oh no.
And I was like, yes, but my familiar really likes good cooking. And then he got introduced to Wagyu beef. And then the goddess wanted in on that.
So literally blessed
kept
by the
getting-
gods.
It was like, no, his whole plot armor is like, listen, I just like cooking for anyone else who appreciates it. And I love at some point that goes to the party that want to ditch him just to sit in a sad campfire with their bland steak just going, man, this thing tastes really bad. Meanwhile, he literally has like a level 100 giant wind wolf coming by. He's like, all right, so what are we eating today? Because I can get you anything. We can go to the coast. It's like, you want a giant shark? Because I can get you that thing too.
But I'd almost feel like, as Liz has mentioned, where it's like if a character has one specific kind of Mary Sue trait, then they're going to be called a Mary Sue. But I don't see like what you described isn't even that at all. Not to say you're wrong for bringing it up or that's not a good example, but I think that underlines the inherent flaw in accusations of Mary Sue, Gary Stewhood, is that this character doesn't have plot armor. This is the plot of the story. Like, do you want someone to come and assassinate him? That's not what this story is about. And sometimes it feels like accusations are folks fundamentally misunderstanding either the purpose the character is meant to serve in the narrative or the genre that the character exists in. Because I was trying to figure out, like, okay, what is the agreed upon term? And of course there's not, because hey, I have another quote for you. As another scholar, oh my gosh, I lost my place. I pulled a Liz. Instructor Tisha
Remember,
Turk of Grinwell
everybody,
College.
If you pull a Liz, you lose your place.
But it was Tisha Turk, who is instructor of writing at Grinwell College, noted that it's the reader and not the author that defines a Mary Sue, which is why you'll go online and you'll find the ones that say they're overpowered and that makes them a Mary Sue. They have no flaws and that's a Mary Sue. They're self-insert and that's a Mary Sue. They're wish fulfillment fulfillment, and that's a Mary Sue. They're unrealistic, and that's a Mary Sue. And it's like, yeah, if they're all of those things, for sure. But then it's like, how do you even define unrealistic?
And then, I think that another thing that gets conflated with Mary Sue is just poorly written characters.
Ooh, say it again.
Yeah. So, I don't want to be too controversial, but Captain Marvel.
Oh, we're going to talk about Captain Marvel, gang. Let's sit down. Everyone take a seat.
No, it just wasn't a well-written movie. She wasn't a well-written character. Madam Web.
Oh, Madam Web. Let's everyone stand up. We're going to talk about Madam Web.
Oh my God.
Not a well-written character. Very badly written. And so that's another thing is just because they're not well written and they're not well done in this, especially in this particular medium, just doesn't mean that like Madam Web, for all intents and purposes, still has complexities, still has flaws, is a complex character. You can glean like things from the character that are like, oh, this is, but maybe some things were contradictory, maybe some things were stupid, but that doesn't mean that they're a Mary Sue. It just means they're poorly written.
For the record, it's the movie, not the comic.
The movie.
Yeah, no, and I think for the Captain Marvel movie especially, I think the biggest obstacle you have on this character is here's our very, very powerful character, and we have like the backstory of like Peter Parker gets to be cool because he got bit by a spider. This Captain Marvel gets to be cool because she got exposed to alien magic radiation. You all know, you've seen the movie, but she doesn't have a personality because she doesn't have her memories. And like, that's the point of the story. But then it's like, well, that's a negative on establishing these characters we haven't met before. And it feels like rather than being able to articulate clearly what didn't work about this character, because she's a powerful lady, it was quicker just to say, well, she's a Mary Sue. It's like when someone is gonna give feedback on writing and they're just like, it didn't flow well. Well, tell me you don't know anything about writing structure, because that means nothing, friend.
Yeah. I need something deeper than that to understand. And so that, I think, that's a really big one is poorly written medium, poorly written characters. If it's stupid, contradictory, whatever, doesn't necessarily mean Mary Sue, just means bad. They needed a few more edits in the writer's room, or to scrap the script completely and start from scratch.
Ash, you've had that mic and you haven't said anything in a while. You want to chime in?
I was just going to say that a lot of like these accusations of Mary Sue come from people who are going to want to level criticism but don't know how to articulate exactly where they're coming from. And sometimes that's just out of like, oh, I didn't see myself as this character.
Interesting.
That's a good point.
Please elaborate on that. Dig deeper.
Tell us more, tell us more.
So when you have
Was
these,
it a
when you
man
have these
making these
characters,
accusations?
when you have these characters that you're supposed to project onto and you're not able to do so, I think you get that accusation of Mary Sue because you're finding this buffer. There's something about that character that is keeping you from defining yourself in that position. So when you are looking for power fantasy and you come across the Captain Marvel and you're like, well, I can't project myself onto that for whatever reason, you end up...
Because she's got boobs.
Maybe because she's got boobs.
Wow.
And that just means that you can't project yourself onto that. And so you go, well, that just means it's a poorly written character.
It can't be denied. Sorry, Liz.
No.
It can't be denied that accusations of Mary Sue, poorly written, underdeveloped character, are most quickly thrown at women and have historically been used to attempt to police the representation, relevancy, gate into the normalization of putting women in science fiction fantasy media.
I exist mostly in like the video gaming space, and
Speak on that.
oh gosh, a lot of people, if you play as a female character, if you play as a person of color, anything in those, a lot of the times you will hear criticism, and I exist in a lot of these kinds of fandom spaces. You will hear a lot that people find that it's woke.
Ooh.
And I know that's a completely
Is woke just
different-
the new Mary Sue?
It might be, because they can't see themselves in it. But I'm a girl, and I have been playing as male characters for a long time. Like, let me see myself in this. So, kind of to what you were saying, Ashwood, was like, it is hard for some people, especially the people who have been catered to. And I know this is a touchy topic.
Interesting how we sat for this episode. Interesting how the table ended up.
Yeah, you see that everyone's like over there. They knew we were going to talk a lot. They're like, cut their mics.
No, we only have the 2 working mics at the table.
A lot of characters, like the new Assassin's Creed, you play as a historical black samurai.
Very cool.
And then a woman. And people were like, women weren't samurai. Okay, tell me you didn't study history. Tell me you didn't study Japanese history. You don't know anything. There were, maybe they were the minority, but there were, some female samurai. Ghost of Yotei, you play as a woman, and people were like, not realistic. Okay, well, tell me again that you don't actually understand. But you see a lot of that where it's like, well, I'm not going to play this game because why does it have to be woke? And I play as a woman, or I play as a black character, whatever. And it's like, it's not. It's representation, and you just don't see yourself in it, and therefore you're angry about it.
Absolutely.
And that is not the majority. That is the vocal minority.
Very loud minority.
Very loud minority, but I do see it very prevalent. Very prevalent, and that I haven't seen. I have seen some Mary Sue accusations leveled at female characters, but again, it's because they're now the main character, or she's too powerful. Well, Lara Croft has always been super cool, so settle
What
down.
are you talking about? It'll never be the girlfriend, right? It'll never be the scientist who dies, the lady scientist who happens to die in the first act, who's very competent, who's going to be called a Mary Sue, right? You will not hear Mary Sue accusations for women who are not being perceived as taking the spotlight from men.
And I do have a lot of thoughts about how, because objectively, and now this is not my opinion, female characters do get the label far more than male characters. So you're gonna find out Superman is actually a very prominent character who can be considered a Gary Stu, but because people find him relatable, they don't want to put him there. But he's super powerful. He's invulnerable. He's got a cool girlfriend.
He's so good. And he's just the best boy. Did y'all see
else?
Superman yet? Who saw Superman? We all saw it, right? Oh my God, it's so good. I love it.
In the 60s, he wanted to marry his cousin. That's how.
Comic books are weird, gang.
Okay, that's much the ladies wanted him. Who did he date that wasn't Lois Lane?
They all
Lana
have
Lang?
LL names.
Yeah, no, there's a whole lot of alliteration for that one.
There's a lot of characters who really want him. His flaws, where are they?
No, he's just the best. The point of
But-
Superman is that he's meant to inspire those
He's-
around him to
He
be
is
better
something-
and do good.
But you rarely see people call him a Gary Stu.
That's not rarely is a little stretchy.
Rarely.
It's rarely.
Unless you're going to have an actual insightful conversation about the topic and belief of a Gary Sue, Mary Sue type. Casual audiences who are ready to throw on Mary Sue won't necessarily point at Superman.
I mean, you're right.
Or James
yeah.
Bond.
Because it's not a space where they have been asked to be introspective on the nature of this accusation.
The reason you're saying
Yeah, I know I'm in the minority
No,
in
the
this one.
reason you're saying that it isn't rare is because you exist in spaces where people can have those kinds of, or will have those kinds of discussions. But you're not going to find a lot of people that say, hey, Superman, that Gary Stu. There's a lot, people love him. And so it doesn't equate in their head like, hey, I love this character. I think he's great. He's very, I love him. But I can also recognize he's a Gary Stu. It's just not going to connect.
All right, go Leo, defend yourself.
In the past,
Sorry.
there was more to that sentence, guys.
Maybe me and Darien should probably not sit next to each other next time.
We're just feeding off each other. The audience is trapped. Everyone else is trapped.
Just letting you guys know.
I let Ash talk.
Eventually, I got the tapes, by the way. So the reason why I wanted to stay in the past is because we don't see that nowadays here. However, back in the 80s and especially in the 90s, Superman was thought of as such a Gary Stu that every time that that the writers team would have to write a Superman story, it was, as a joke, how about we just finally kill him this time? And this keeps going until the 90s, and then they're like,
They killed him in the 90s.
they killed him. We'll do this. Let's do the Doomsday storyline. We've had that.
It was a big old thing. My dad used to own a comic book store, and he said that when that happened, they were like, okay, Superman's gonna die, and there were lines out the door, like just waiting to get this comic. They were like, we have to see how it's gonna happen. Like, oh my God, they're gonna kill Superman. Same universe, same storyline. He came back like 6 months later.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah, comic books.
but that is not that by
But not
point.
even
The
an
thing is
AU,
that
just- Wow, weird.
yeah, other like, so it depends on like you're right though. We will not typically see someone like Superman called a Gary Stu, but at this point, you could fit so many other people. I've seen people call Superman Gary Stu. The Doctor from Doctor Who's a Gary Stu.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not even sugarcoating that. That is the whole premise. He will find an answer.
But okay, we'll call this is not the Doctor Who
Yeah,
really from 2012 Rising from the Dead.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask, like, in regards to like the Doctor, what is it that makes him a Mary Stu character? Is like, oh, he's super competent. Oh, he has no flaws. And it's like, how many times have I watched this man suffer and fail? You ask me, have you not seen the show? I have seen him suffer and have flaws that he has to overcome. But it's just, is it because he's competent? Is that the baseline now? Is it because the show was about him and he's our protagonist?
Yeah, like he can literally, and I've seen the episodes where he literally pulls an answer out of who knows where just to solve this one problem.
Yeah, and it's so good.
And
then
yet
the violins play and the music
rises.
No, if
Sorry, we're gonna put her back in the box.
No,
We'll put her
if
back
we're
in the
looking
box.
into smart Gary Sues, would we count Dr. Stone also as one?
I don't know who that is.
So
He's the anime guy.
yeah,
Look at the green hair.
Absolutely.
So
Spiky
Dr.
green hair
Stone,
anime boy.
so what happened is that the whole world came back to like more primitive time, but this one kid who's just a super genius who finally got out of it was able to make modern day technology and something that's perceived somewhere closer to like the Stone Ages. So
No, because the plot is he's smart boy.
Yeah, like I'm trying to still wrap my head when he was trying to like, all right, guys, we're gonna make a cell phone. How? With what service? It's like I think AT&T is a little out of service 3,000 years in the future right now.
But as you can even see up here, it's hard to even agree on what exactly makes a Mary Sue or a Gary Sue.
point.
Yeah, and that is kind of the point, because even the initial Mary Sue had a set number of parameters, or like certain parameters that were put in place for Mary Sue's, but as things evolve, again, it's gotten muddied, it's gotten watered down. We see a lot of things applied in ways that are like, you know, like a lot of things get thrown around because they're not fully understood. And I think that that's also problematic, because we're up here like, but what about you're saying they're a Gary Stu, but
But it's like this.
what about this?
I had this thought a couple days ago when I was preparing to be here, and I have been so excited to share it, and I think now is the time. May I present I think that the concept of a Mary Sue is maybe one of our earliest fandom examples of something escaping containment.
Of what?
Of it when a thing escapes containment, like when a fandom, So for folks who don't know, escaping containment in this context means like when a fandom joke or an idea or a ship or a thing that is well understood in its context within a fan community is suddenly picked up, and this happens a lot on the internet, by a wider community who don't have the context for it, and then you're getting like a lot of people being like, hot take, this is problematic, or not getting it's a joke and getting really mad. That's when something has escaped containment.
Like Squirrel Girl, where she like canonically can win every fight.
No,
No.
like
Okay.
if I have, so I've actually seen this in a lot of things where like if I have there's a Final Fantasy joke. Let's just say there's a joke from Final Fantasy VIII, and it's within the community. We get it. We're like, oh, this is a thing. Like, she shoots the dog off her wrist, and that's just that's one of her weapons. Okay, it's a silly weapon, but she has a puppy that she can shoot off of her wrist, and it does damage. Somebody takes that outside of, somebody outside of the fandom goes, that's animal abuse.
Yes, exactly.
But it's not. But they don't understand. It's a weapon. It's funny in the context. It's not actually.
No dogs are
hurting the
harmed in
dog.
making this.
No dogs were harmed. It's actually, but within the fandom, we make jokes about it.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing.
Yeah.
She shoots the dog off her arm and it does damage to the monster. But outside of it, and I have seen this leveled at her, it's animal abuse. No, honey, play the game.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, because I think that's why earlier when I interrupted you first, Liz, it was because I wanted to like clarify that the woman who gave the like Paula Smith, who's like this is like the Mary Sue concept, ran the fanzine The Menagerie,
Yeah.
and she was integral to this community of women who loved Star Trek, who were writing about it, who were part of it. Like she was not like she had to say later. She's like, I was not trying to put down female characters. Like this was a community in-joke that went into escape containment. And I think we're talking about like, why are we being critical of the idea of a Mary Sue? And I would propose because it has had real world negative effects on the representation of diverse characters, especially women. Because later on so the Mary Sue concept was coined in 73. And then in 87 at ClipperCon, there was a panel of women who wrote for Star Trek, books, comics, shows, whatever. And one of them mentioned that every time they tried to put a woman in any story she'd ever written, everyone said, well, this is a Mary Sue. And in 92, the Star Trek fanzine Archived said that the Mary Sue paranoia was probably largely responsible for the lack of believable, competent, and identifiable with female characters.
Right, people were afraid of making these characters and having them labeled as Mary Sues, and so they're like, well, now we don't want that leveled at us.
Yeah.
And so that's where it gets kind of dicey, because make the characters.
Make the character!
Make the characters. Let people.
Give us what we want!
Somebody is going to identify with this character. It doesn't matter how much I'm going to sit up here and tell you Madam Web is bad. Someone out there loves that movie, or at least enjoys it.
And I think the other thing is like,
Someone
if
might identify with her,
and
or,
if a thing is so bad, if a story is so poorly written and the character is so bland and so flat and such a self-insert and so poorly written, then no one else is going to want to read it. Like, then it's
Right.
not going to succeed. It's not going to come poison the water hole. It's going to evaporate.
well, and alternately, where people don't want characters to be labeled a Mary Sue, so they're like, okay, we can't make her overly powerful. We have to give her flaws. We have to do this. We have to do that. Nobody can, like, we can't have that many people like her. Well, now you're starting to make her too weak, and nobody's going to identify with her.
Or you
Like,
have to identify, like, what does a flaw mean to the audience, where a character would have a flaw, but they don't, like, the audience, if they don't see her get her ass beat in a fight or go through some sort of, like, severe, intense trauma, then will they identify her inner struggles to, like, connect with other individuals on a personal level due to her lack of her mother's emotional availability? Will that be recognized as a flaw she's dealing with if you don't spell it out?
Right. And that's another thing, is a lot of nuance gets removed from stories, and we're not seeing subtlety. We're seeing people being like, hey, I don't think you understand how my movie was working, so let me tell you word for word.
Hold your hand and
I
get you
don't think
through this.
subtlety, I don't know what that is. I don't know what subtlety is.
Gentlemen, would you like to chime in?
I'm so sorry. We're gonna,
I,
they're just looking like,
I wanted to go, but I was just like
I have
so
a-
engrossed
I
in
have
what
a
you were
rant, so
saying.
yeah, you go.
It completely moved over. I wanted to say, like, we end up like we were saying earlier, we end up afraid of the Mary Sue moniker when it should be something that some characters like can really benefit from. Because in power fantasy, what we're really like looking for are those characters that can like strive and go beyond and not have as many flaws bogging them down. Because sometimes that's what we need to feel. We need to feel those power fantasies, and we need to feel that power creep in our own lives. And so, like Superman, or like in Solo Leveling, like is a really popular anime right now. Jinnu is a Gary Sue in my opinion, and you just have like these characters. You want that power fantasy. People right now want to feel powerful because they don't feel that power in
And that's
their
why
lives.
I beat Free Run for Best Anime.
I also feel like, so another mild vulnerability, but I'll defend this to
Liz,
the
I
death.
see you.
I'll
I see you.
I'll defend this to the death. There's a mobile game I play called Love in Deep Space, which his girlfriend calls Pocket Boyfriend, and you
So
have.
cute. Oh my God. Tell me more.
Oh my! I'll tell you all about it later. So.
We don't have that kind of time.
Oh yeah, not right now. So one of the things is there's a main character, and you can customize her, and it is a woman. Yeah. And it is sort of like there's 5 love interests, and they all exist in their own like timelines of each other. So if I'm like going on a date with Caleb, it doesn't affect everybody else. I'm not with them, but when I'm with Zane, then and so that one I really like playing, because there's a point where like I have a powerful character. She has a lot of trauma, and there is like a really good backstory and such. But like maybe I just want 5 fictional dudes to like want to say nice things to me, and like, you know, and I don't think that that's like the main character could be considered a Mary Sue because she does have this great power, and a lot of like all these boys want her, and she, you know, like doesn't have very many flaws. Like she's cute, she's fun, she's badass, she's powerful. Maybe that's what I want. Maybe I just want that. I want to log into my game, and they break the immersion by like, you're the screen. So the screen is you. So they'll come and like talk to the screen. They'll come up to you and they'll say things and they'll talk to you and all this. And I'm like, sometimes that's just what I want. I just want to feel like,
Yeah, for sure.
like I'm desired and I'm cool and I'm fun and
And what is this game where we can feel that?
Pocket boyfriend.
You do play
Pocket
it?
boyfriend.
You do play it as a woman, and you can only play as a woman, which is I'll have some criticism leveled at it, because they will always refer to you as she and her, and so there are
That's
you know
like
some
a little bit of like binary stuff.
Yeah, no non-binary and no male characters, no like agender or anything like that. So it has had some criticism leveled at it, but the devs know their target audience and they make a lot of money.
That's the thing I mentioned earlier about like the genre. Like, why is wish fulfillment bad if that's the purpose of the thing you're writing? And also, like, didn't we play Jedi Knight and Avengers and Warrior Cats in the backyard because we wanted to live in those worlds? Like, why is it bad?
We can't talk about Star Wars yet because I will go on a tirade.
I think we only have 15 minutes.
I think, do we have 90 minutes this time?
Okay, well, we will talk about Star Wars. Do you want to just dive in?
Go off.
I don't know if you guys want to talk before I go on my tirade, though.
We got to talk.
We'll get to Star Wars because I agree with you with your entire point, but we'll get to that point. Actually, maybe we should do it now just to get it over with.
Why tease the audience? We're right here.
Okay, so
I'll stop taking the microphone after this.
No, you won't.
So,
Don't lie to Leo.
I know. So, we're not going to discuss Anakin Skywalker because that's too long. I have too long of a tirade about how he is unfairly treated. But we are going to talk about Rey from the sequel trilogy.
Here we go.
Which I understand.
Let's do it.
I'm not about to defend or deny or anything people's love or hatred for the trilogy. You feel what you feel. The point is, a lot of people deemed Rey a Mary Sue. They said she came into her powers too quickly. She never had to train. She never had to struggle. She got into that fight with Kylo Ren at the end of episode 7, and she won. And she had no training, but he did. False. First of all, she has been, even if she doesn't understand it, she has had her Force powers since she was a baby. And so she, without even knowing that she was using the Force, she was using the Force. She was erratic with it. She's not comfortable with it. She didn't know what it was. But there were things that she could do that she was like, oh, I can do that. So she didn't come into her powers quickly. She became strong with them quickly, but I'm gonna put it out there.
Do it.
So did Luke Skywalker.
Say it louder.
Luke Skywalker was born force sensitive.
yep.
And he took the microphone to go, yeah.
I needed to get a word in. That was my word. Enjoy. I'm out.
So, and another thing, we see Rey training with Luke. Luke trained with Yoda. They have very similar journeys. Leo here thinks Rey was boring because she's just Luke Skywalker recycled.
No, that's because J.J. Abrams is bad at writing women.
but my problem wasn't with Rey. My problem was with the writers on.
Right, but I mean,
But that's a different
episode
story.
7 was episode 4 redone.
Yeah,
but
that's what my
not
problem.
necessarily a bad thing. I like episode 7.
I like episode 8. Oh, she said it out loud.
Mixed feelings about episode 8. It was better the second time, but
It was better after the 9th one came out.
Can we agree that, like, at least what it feels like when Luke was training Rey, after you said, like, he got trained by Yoda, that just felt like the biggest Jedi passing of the torch.
Yes, that's the point of it.
And then it's like, bro, I can master Jedi, but, like, I gotta train the next master Jedi.
and you gotta see, like, Yoda was not putting up with Luke's shit. He's like, you're gonna do this. Like, come on, you can do this. There's no do it. Well, Luke wasn't putting up with Rey's shit either.
Yeah.
Like, she was struggling and she was having a hard time. The only problem is Luke wasn't tempted to the dark side until much later, whereas Rey had kind of grown up with both sides of the Force, like, talking to her, basically. And so that's
And also,
why
she was so worse off than Luke. Luke had his aunt and uncle raising him. He had a secure and stable
Yeah,
environment.
And they
she
kept him
lived
away
on
from Luke away from a lot of stuff.
She was an orphan living inside of an old abandoned like Star Cruiser or something that had crash landed on the planet, which is also, You learn this in the novel,
In the novel.
not in the movie, so I understand. She had flight simulation. She had a flight simulator thing that still exists. Like the computer inside her crashed ship that she lived in still worked, so she had done flight training, which is also how she was able to.
Ash has a
That is a major thing that I'm learning for the first time, and actually like really reinvigorates the character for me.
Yeah, right. It's like, so this is the thing is I really like the Star Wars movie novels for the most part. The episode 1 was a little rough, but that's because I love you, Terry Pratchett. He did not write Jar Jar Binks' accent well. So
Sir Terry Pratchett wrote Phantom Menace?
do
No
believe
way.
It was Terry Pratchett.
Oh my god. Okay,
Really?
I'm looking it up.
Double check that because I think Terry Pratchett wrote it. What? I
Tell
think.
us more.
Don't-
Y'all just said I...
Even the audience
Liz
is
just said I
stunned.
could talk about Discworld. Oh my god.
But the accent for Jar Jar was pretty rough, the way he wrote it.
Well, the accent in the movie was pretty rough, the way George wrote it.
True. So we see a lot about Rey. The novels. Huh?
Harry Brooks. Oh, okay. Darien can't talk about Discworld.
Sorry, not
Out the door.
out the door. Sorry.
Just go,
not Terry
just go.
Pratchett.
Dan is faster than me.
Yeah, and Shannara was quite. Okay, I'm not going to talk about my disdain for Shannara. But Rey and Luke had very similar journeys. But Luke came out in the late 70s. The original Star Wars. But Luke was introduced
76.
to us in the late 70s. Rey was introduced to us in the 2010s or 2009, I think. 2012? Something.
No.
2015.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
really
all right,
late.
I was off. My credibility continues to be shattered.
It's okay. I admitted to liking Last Jedi, so.
Listen, okay, Last Jedi is actually, it's probably the...
No, focus up.
It's probably the most rocky.
Not what it's about. Not what
probably
this
the
episode's
most
about.
rocky one, but I understand. So, okay, so we'll talk. It's the most diversifying. You either love it or you hate it. But yeah, people go on about Rey being a Mary Sue, but she literally has the same journey as Luke Skywalker. And one of the things is her battle at the end of episode 7, people were like, she fought against Kylo Ren. He had all this training. He's been training since he was a kid, first with Luke, and then with, what's his bucket?
Oh god, I don't care.
Yeah.
Snoke, it's Snoke. I do
Snoke,
care.
that's it. And he's had all these teachers and these trainers, and he's a very trained Sith. Meanwhile, Rey didn't have any training. Okay, but rewatch the fight scene and look at how Rey is just swinging her sword wildly. Kylo Ren has the master, he's very precise. He's moving. Rey is wild, and that's like one of the only benefits is that she has no technique. She's just going all where she can. She's on her back foot for the entire fight. She is backing up, she's falling, she's stumbling, he's advancing on her, and the only reason she wins is because a chasm opens up between the two of them. And they have to basically say, okay, well, we can't reach each other now. It's a draw.
Let's not forget, he also got shot by Chewie's laser crossbow.
Right.
Yep.
And that thing takes out stormtroopers in one hit.
And she was wrecked by the end of it. Like, she had to just come and, people...
It's like she had to struggle really hard or something.
Right. It's this whole big thing. Like, watch the fight scene again. It's actually very interesting because at first you're like, yeah, look at her. Like, she's so cool. And I really like Rey. I do. Her handling...
That's one of the first things I think I learned about you.
Really? Yeah. I loved her. I cosplayed her.
Yeah. Oh my god, I did too.
Hey. Yeah, so I just feel like she's one of my biggest, like, I will fight, I will die on this hill. You can call Rey a Mary Sue, but you have to call Luke a Gary Stu, but I don't think either of them fits the role.
Also that, yeah. Yeah, also that. Like, even we're like, oh, but Luke Skywalker also. But that's not you saying that Luke Skywalker is also a Gary Sue. That's pointing out the similarities, but they both have their flaws and their failures and the things that, like, Rey is constantly looking for someone else to, like, give her approval and find a place to be with.
She never had it. And the people that she did know were always just, like, trying to, like, run her down. So this could become a Star Wars talk.
It's not. Leo, get us out of here.
Yeah, I'm getting us out of this one.
Yeah,
Okay,
we won't bring up
But
Anakin.
before I get to that, there is an old saying from sword masters that goes like something like this: the two most dangerous people that I have to worry about is the first one is the greatest swordsmaster I've ever known, and the person who doesn't know what they're doing. And I didn't understand that until I started learning when I started taking swordsmanship classes. But No, they're right. The person who doesn't know what they're doing doesn't know what they're doing, so they can get a lucky hit if you're not paying attention.
Yeah,
If they're just going crazy, you could be on your back foot the whole time.
Yeah, if you're the one that has like the discipline and but you're like, I know what to look for because I know these stances, I know these things, I know these openings. Oh my God, they're swinging up and I'm okay. Like you're kind of, you've got to try and match their freneticism and just hope for the best.
That is firmly where all of my hits come from because I never know what I'm doing.
I'm a button masher in Mortal Kombat, so.
Oh, so we're playing Tekken, you're going to go with Eddie Goro. That's it.
Oh no, I always go with okay, whatever.
Anyway.
Katana.
So, to bring us out of that one a little bit, let's switch mics, because you said you weren't going to have it anymore.
For now. Thanks, Darien.
Silenced.
Anywho, so what if, and I say this in a weird way to explore this next topic, what if you've made yourself contractually obligated to be a Gary Stu? Because I have one solid instance of one person being a Gary Stu.
Oh yeah.
So,
This one's fun.
They've been around for a while in the wrestling community, but Hulk Hogan, that's right, you look at me like that.
Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan.
We got some talk.
So Hulk Hogan is designed to be, before he was at WCW, because that's going to be an important point. Before he was WCW, Vince McMahon, in order to build the WWE around Hulk Hogan, and it was so that way he had a superhero-like figure for that one. But anyone who's historians with wrestling would realize once he got to WWE, he rarely lost a fight. No, I haven't gotten to that part yet.
So actually, one thing I do also want to plot point in that is made it very, very sure with Andre the Giant that he is so large, no one could be able to take him down until it came down to Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant at WrestleMania. The crowd pop of seeing, I thought this guy was unliftable, but not for the Hogan.
Ooh. But for the record, a lot of people with that much
100%.
muscles can throw Andre the Giant.
I also just want to brag that at some point I was pretty wrong. There was a guy in WWE named Cesaro who won a Andre the Giant Battle Royale by throwing over the Big Show of all people. Mm-hmm. This dude only weighed 230 pounds and was described as like, no, you're like a real life Superman. For pound, you are insane with what you do.
Now, the reason why I bring that up is that Hulk Hogan would either use politicking to make sure that he would always either win matches or making sure that he wouldn't lose the title unless it was a very specific thing. Or if he loses the title, it was never losing the title from a straight match. It's always like some interference, or he's unconscious, or he's ringed out. Something to that extent for his history. Now, he does that in order to make sure that he's always the number one person. And with the history of wrestling, it gets kind of interesting because anybody who wrestles against Hulk Hogan get a pay raise as part of a contract issue. So that way Hulk Hogan will have the best matches. But then the other wrestlers who are lower tier, Honky Tonk Man especially, which was one of these, is one of the reasons his career didn't get too big, is because he would go against Hulk Hogan, get an extra paycheck, basically take a dive and lose the fight.
He got paid extra to take the fall so Hulk Hogan could always look like a superhero.
Mm-hmm. Now, why do I say that's contract? Actually, that's mostly him politicking, knowing the right people to do that. Now later, he gets WCW comes up, and they want to hire Hulk Hogan, have him join his side. So he's always going to protect his brand. That is his bread and butter. That is what he does. But to do so,
they actually, so it was between WWE renewing the contract, I think, and WCW, and they were like, WCW was like, hey, we'll give you full creative control if you choose us.
Yeah.
Full creative control over you and your character, everything. And he was like, I'm going to go with WCW.
So for those of you that don't know, when it comes to wrestling politics, creative control is the greatest weapon that any wrestler can have. I pro wrestler around here through At Home Wrestle Club, and the moment he gets like, "Dang, you guys can do what you want." Oh, can I now? I was like, "Ooh, guys, I got some ideas."
Ooh.
but once you have creative control, you get to change or call an audible or make any kind of changes to the storyline as you go. And this was partially to inspire him to go into his bad guy turn. when he went to as a heel.
Heel turn.
Heel turn.
Heel turn.
And back then, that was one of the biggest shockers that people knew. It was like, oh man, you've always been the good guy for 15 plus years. Now you're the good guy as the bad guy.
Went from the biggest good guy to the biggest bad guy. It'll be like, you know what? That's essentially Batman Joker now.
However, he still never loses a fight. He still never gives up the title. He still never does any of that. And because of that contract, there's an old thing for anyone who is into wrestling called the finger poke of doom. No, finger poke of doom. Poke because
Hulk Hogan cannot lose, so if you go and you're dead.
Just that good.
no, that's actually what happened in the match.
I know.
He poked him. Guy fell. I think it was Kevin Nash. Fell down.
No, it was Kevin. It was literally the NWO. So it was, those who don't know, it was Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. But those were like a big trio for WCW. And just basically the biggest cause of the Monday Night Wars between them and WWE or WF when it was at the time.
Yeah.
I wanted to point out, though, another reason that he kind of falls into the real life Gary Stu category is, although I guess, is it real life if it's his persona?
It's still wrestling. It's still written and scripted. It still counts as a Gary Stu.
Right, but
It's an art.
it's not real life. It's his character. So, but one of the things is, regardless, like, so before he did his heel turn and became a villain, he was constantly portrayed as being like adored by his fans. Everyone loved him. Everyone wanted him. They were like, this guy, he's it. He's our big shot. He's everything. It wasn't until the heel turn that he finally started being one of the most hated wrestlers, but also this did wonders for his career. Like him doing the heel turn, yeah, he lost a lot of people. A lot of people hated him, but what's better than having people loving you? People hating you, because that just also drives more engagement.
Especially in wrestling. There's a reason why we have the term heel turn comes from that, because wrestlers will tell you, if you give us a reaction, good or bad, that's what we need to, that's what fuels us. We just need a reaction.
It's always the reaction is what they're looking for on that.
So if you really hate a wrestler, don't say anything, just ignore him. That's how it gets them under skin.
Silence is the ultimate wrestler. But if you want to boo them to hell them back, by all means, it's like, that's just music to my ears. Like there's a guy out there right now known as Maxwell Jacob Freeman, and his moniker is "I'm better than you, and you know it."
Yeah. He
like,
wants to make you mad.
It's like, I want to see more of them now.
Is heel turn an example of escaping containment? That's something I learned today.
No, heel turn is a wrestling term. From when you're the good guy, you're the face character, and so when you become a villain, you make a heel turn.
That just becomes a trope at that point. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like escaping containment. I think it's just now become a trope.
Yeah, I think it's because okay, that is a good point. What is the distinction of like why I think Mary Sue has escaped containment, whereas I think heel turn is actually not the same thing, because I feel that it is being used to describe a phenomenon accurately. Like when a hero becomes a villain, calling it a heel turn, that term comes from wrestling, and I do think that is different because I think it's still fundamentally explaining the same thing.
Heel turn is like, or Mary Sue is a very like enigmatic term where it's like, it's very fluid. Like, what is it? What is a Mary Sue? We couldn't agree. We have parameters, and we're still like, okay, but does that really count? But whereas a heel turn has a definitive definition.
Yeah, and that's where that's sort of the crux of this whole episode. It's not
Idiom. It's an idiom.
Idiom. Thank you.
Heel turn is an idiom. Mary Sue has escaped containment.
Okay.
Fancy word.
Does that make Ash? Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Cool.
You need me to put it back. Sounds like an SCP.
Also, escape containment sounds way cooler than what we're using it as.
No, Mary Sue is now an SCP. Put her back in containment. She has escaped the facility.
Ooh, so that's
SCP is a horror thing.
Can
It's secure, contain, protect, and it's creatures.
I love that. This was like a really good moment. Can I talk about an example of Mary Sue that I've been wanting to share? So this is from a webcomic called Ensign Sue Must Die by Kevin Bulk. And it is literally about a Mary Sue character in the Star Trek universe, specifically the post J.J. Abrams like reboot Star Trek universe. The very first comics, it's super fun, it's super charming. It is our Zachary Quinto Spock talking to our Spock Prime Leonard Nimoy, and they're like, everything's going great now. I guess we're gonna star on the ship. And then this like cute blonde with one streak of hair, like purple hair, and she's like, hi, oh my God, Spock, I'm Ensign Sue. And our new Spock's like, oh, okay. And Nimoy Spock's like, I have to go. I can't be here. We need to leave. And so the entire premise is like, what if your Mary Sue character was legitimately like a Mary Sue, and like literally everyone is like falling in love with her, and she's warping reality around her, because that would be what it would actually be like if you had an actual Mary Sue character. It would fundamentally destroy the universe. So the way they get rid of her is the one fundamental law of Star Trek that can't be beaten even by a Mary Sue. They throw her in a red shirt and send her down to the planet, and that's how they get rid of her. And that's it. But it's a super funny gag, and it's actually really funny. There's 2 sequels to it. And what I love so much about, and why I wanted to talk about it here, not just that's a funny gag, it's really funny, but also over the course of the sequels, as this becomes like a multiverse level problem, our original Mary Sue, because she comes back, it's comics, she becomes a real character. Like, that is a thing that happens. Suddenly she develops a genuine personality outside of this trope, and suddenly she becomes complex and becomes like self-actualized. And I think that's the thing where it's like, to dismiss a character for being a Mary Sue is so harmful, not just because I feel like it's inherently sexist, and not because we have evidence of it has prevented women characters from being created, but also it means that characters aren't allowed to grow. Like, you maybe have a flawed character, but dang, in time, writers get better. We get better at telling stories. We know our characters more. We get what we're going for better. These characters get to become, like, even a 13-year-old writing a Dragon Ball Z insert, in time is going to become a really well-crafted character who probably still finds pieces of that character in her work today.
Yeah. She also did go on to be a Digimon self-insert.
What, did you have
Her name was Lizzie.
Did she have an original Digimon, or did she have, like, your favorite Digimon?
She had my favorite Digimon, and also she was in love with Matt. Okay.
Of course.
Yeah,
Who wasn't?
I know.
Me, but
I've heard he's in the band.
I was a Ty Lee girlie.
But yes, you can definitely find, I mean, you're definitely going to find aspects of them in my modern writing, but they're definitely a lot more complex, a lot more well-written, a lot more just like better overall, because I do write every single day.
Because you kept going.
Yeah.
And I think the problem with the Mary Sue accusation is that it fundamentally is used to make something, because the person throwing around the accusation wants this thing to stop.
And in some cases, one of the worst things that could happen is it does stop.
Yeah.
Because if my friend and I had made our OCs and we were writing our fan fictions and I showed a different friend, my cousin was one of also my friends who loved doing that. But if I showed it to my cousin and she was like, oh, she kind of sucks, who knows if I might have stopped. But instead I was writing her with my friends, and we were all encouraging each other. And now my friend that I wrote my original characters with, her name's Jessie. She's actually writing a book right now.
Good for Jessie!
She works on it every single day. I do writing every day, and mine's casual. It's fun. It's for me, but
because sometimes things can just be for us. We don't always have to feed the content mill.
But I have toyed with the idea of trying to write a novella or something. But or my erotic fanfic, or my erotic fiction, not fan fiction, under a pen name that I'm not going to tell anybody about.
Hey, y'all, this has been like super vulnerable down here. Do you want to talk about your self-insert OCs you were writing at 13?
Yeah. Please.
At 13 with a self-insert?
Please.
Ashwood, take this one. I didn't actually do one.
So I had a Power Ranger.
Yay!
It was
Dane,
a purple.
Up here?
It was a purple Power Ranger, and of course I would show up to save the day and repulse Rita Repulsa, and so of course we had our own self-insert OCs.
I have to look directly at Ashwood as he speaks.
Please don't observe me. This is my vulnerability time.
I love it.
But yeah, so He had, of course, a dragon Zord, which was a different, totally unique dragon Zord than the dragon Zord that Tommy had.
course.
Yeah, obviously, it's a wyvern.
Yeah.
And he would show up, and he was, of course, the 7th Ranger, Tommy being the 6th Ranger. You can't take that away.
No, you'd never.
And he was best friends with all of the original Power Rangers, even going into Zeo. He never lost his powers, even though they did
not.
a couple of times. So, of course, he was always there to save the day.
I love him.
Yep.
I love him. Maybe him and Lizzie would have been besties.
Oh,
Of course, I
absolutely.
believe that,
Ben?
too.
So, sort of on the thing of Power Ranger style, but after my love of 30 Days a Night, I was so interested in just like, what if people could turn into those vampires like at will? But
Where
hold on.
vampires?
This one's just like my own like, like my own personal. But like, I also was thinking, what if it was like a whole group like the Power Rangers? What if it was like people who could turn to vampires at night, go and do things, and they each control like a different element. So I was literally making like my own like original story of like
It
elemental
was like
vampires coming
it was
through.
like vampire. It was 30 Days of Night meets Power Rangers meets Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yes.
Where can we crowdfund that?
Okay, you were way ahead of the curve where I was
doing a
making.
lot of
honestly,
I was
I'm a
making
numbers guy and not like a
self-inserts.
writing guy. So if I had like your skill level, man, I would have published that a long time ago.
I do have a question. Based off of your Power Ranger OC, do you feel like any writing and storytelling and such that you do now has gotten a lot better?
I would have to say I still want to see myself as the hero of the story.
Yeah.
So I take a lot of that like inner Power Ranger OC energy, and I now convert that into what I want to do and say and see in the world around me right now.
Yeah, and don't you do D&D?
I do D&D.
Yeah, so and so you get to like take what you started with and you've evolved it and now you just have like more complex and better.
Absolutely, yeah. My characters really benefit from wanting to be a main character.
What was your Power Ranger's name?
It was actually I will just call him Ashwood because
Yeah, so we could have been besties through our OCs when we were 13.
would have
What's your
absolutely
good Ashwood Ranger?
the Ashwood Ranger. I love that.
I love that. Okay. And yeah, so that's the thing is I think even though they were Gary Stews and Mary Sue's, I think that, it's not a bad thing. And we weren't discouraged at least. And now I think, we're better for it. And so there's a lot of things that can come from even poorly written characters, even characters that
There's definitely
aren't.
like a nice balance before just like, okay, you're just really good for the sake of plot, or just like, no, you're something I can like connect and relate to for a
Yeah.
lot of things. But
And
you also
that's-
give me like that drive to want to keep going forward, no matter how many times I just get like, clapped by everything.
And my Dragon Ball Z character and my Digimon character, my self-insert, got me through 8th grade.
Yeah, there it is.
Dude, science, well, I loved my science teacher, but like math and social studies, like all of that, like I was bullied in middle school. Like I was picked on.
Give me their names and social security numbers.
I wish I knew them. No, I was picked on a lot. I was made fun of a lot, and in high school,
They found out about your Digimon OC.
No, they knew about it and were like, "Oh, this one." No, a lot changed in high school, but in middle school I was picked on a lot. And so when I got to talk to my friend, we had first period and last period together, and it was science and math, and we would talk about our Digimonos, or our Dragon Ball Z original characters, and we would write fan fictions, and we were rewriting the history of Trunks to include our characters in it. And
Of course.
we had a long epic fan fiction about it, and it helped, like it got me through the time. Like I needed a little bit of escapism.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing is like how important creativity is for getting through any time in your life and finding your own skills and abilities and also putting yourself in your work. And it's something that even great storytellers who are been doing it for years will still find pieces of themselves to put in their characters because that's how they become real.
And that's why I also think Mary Sue's and Gary Stews are not inherently bad because, again, Superman, for all intents and purposes, is a Gary Stew. Bella Swan is an admitted Mary Sue. But people are like, hey, I'm having fun with them.
Like, I need
mean,
this.
I do think that Twilight has other problematic elements
Twilight has
to
other
it,
problematic
but
elements to
that's
it.
not what we're here to talk about. But it is something that can be very beneficial to people who maybe need this escapism, and they latch onto that. My sister was very into Twilight for a long time. Well, not a long time, but a while. She's very ashamed of it now, but
It's okay. It's coming back around.
she found it when she was at a very bad time in her life, and depression latched onto it, and it got her through it. And so, like, I don't care that I watched Twilight over 300 times with her, and I'm not joking. I used to stay the night with her, and we would fall asleep to it every night. And sometimes I would be up later than her, and so I would restart the movie because it would end, and I was tired of
We'll take it from the top again.
the menu music.
You gotta at least restart.
Yeah, and I would just restart it. And, you know, I'm not mad at it, because even though it's problematic and Bella is a Mary Sue and all that, it helped my sister through a really rough time. And also the first movie is dumb fun.
Yeah.
I like
Oh,
it.
it
We're
is.
allowed to have fun.
Sorry.
So, I think the thing that if you are writing this as a story to present to people, not just yourself, you know, if you're writing it for yourself because you want that escapism just some place for you to let, that's fine. If you're writing it for other people, or you're publishing it, or you're trying to make it to a movie or something to that extent, the worst thing that you can do is put yourself in the position where you don't try to grow as a writer.
I mean, I think, again, like, yeah, obviously take feedback and try and grow and become a better writer if people don't like it. But I think that, again, we're running into, is it a Mary Sue versus is it badly written?
Right. And that's
Or is it threatening some fundamental aspect that the audience, or the reader in particular, this one audience member, feels that should be unchallenged in the medium?
Yeah. So, with that being said, as I get this one wrapped up, I want everybody here to list out just down the road real quick, to list out someone that you know as a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu, but you super enjoy it, and just, like, even if people don't call it that, or if they have so many aspects of it, this is the one I enjoy, and I'm here for that one. Or that people don't think about as a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu. Either way on that one. Like, one who I can think of as a Gary Stu that, and I guess I'll do mine first, that people don't think about it is Spider-Man. Okay. And I say that because depending on who writes Spider-Man will either be, like, there's one that's like, oh, he can barely throw a car. No, he can punch out the Hulk in one go. No, he's a broke student. He is the best friends with Iron Man and has a huge tech system for it. He is all over the place. And not to mention that being super smart is an ability that he has, but he's also an expert at junk. How do they call it? Junk pile tech, being able to glue anything to anything on that and call it a day. But we don't consider him as a Gary Stu on the basis that he always, and this is intentional, Stan Lee did it in the beginning, make sure that there's all these everyday flaws that he has to worry about. And the crux of that story is mostly his duality. He wants to be just a regular person, but Spider-Man gives him powers, and he needs that responsibility to help everybody else out, because the one time he didn't, it fell back to him. And also anytime he does it, it falls back on him.
Oh, with great power.
Yep.
Main character from Love and Deep Space. I can't think of one. That's the first one off the top of my head. The main character from Love and Deep Space.
I think my thesis for this exercise is actually I don't believe Mary Sue or Gary Sues actually exist. I don't think it's a fundamentally useful term to use.
What she
Thank
said.
you. Yeah, and so I can't participate, and I hate that because I don't want to say no. I want to say yes. I want to yes and you. Can I talk about an example of self-insert done really well? Will that?
For that one, yes.
Okay.
There is an episode I want to do a self-service later down the line.
Okay, well, it's more just like in the concept of like, oh, you shouldn't put your. This is actually no. I'm not going to derail us. I don't believe Mary Sues and Gary Sues exist. I believe it's a fundamentally useless terminology that's just whipped around to try to police and control who certain members of an audience believes is worth telling stories about. I believe we should put it back in containment, and it only gets to refer to if this character is the youngest person to ever graduate from Starfleet Academy and get a commission, and is good at everything from art to zoology, and everybody loves her, and both Spock, Kirk, and McCoy want to bone her. And then she dies at the end, and everybody mourns her. That's the only time it gets to be a Mary Sue character. Everyone else is just a cool lady that men don't like.
Or people just don't know how to voice their their dislike of a character, and they call her or him or her a Mary Sue or Gary Stu instead because they don't know how to put words to it. But Mary Sue and Gary Stu is inherently problematic.
That's why I think we should take the word away. It only gets to be applied to Star Trek fan fiction.
Yay!
I think those were some fantastic points.
And, but, yet?
No but. Just
Just
period. Just period. Fantastic
Well done,
points.
Darren.
So we're gonna call that one there then.
Oh,
That's
sorry,
why-
I didn't mean to like ruin Leo's exercise. I was hoping you would do me last.
Yeah, fair enough. But
And do you want to say something?
I didn't mean to destroy this.
My favorite Mary Sue is Hello Kitty. Yes! Everyone loves her. She has the best life. She's cute. She's adorable, and she's a cat. I don't care what anyone says.
Is she not a cat? What is she then?
A little girl, yeah.
Dressed as a cat?
No, it's just
Is it?
No. Just a little girl who. Not a cat.
Oh.
No, just a little girl.
Barbie. I think Barbie as Mary Sue. That's literally her function.
I don't care what the creators say.
All right, Ben, answer the question. Get us out of here.
I'm sorry.
Man, honestly, I'm just more torn of wanting to like, do I want to talk about Luffy or Ash?
Ooh, those are both. Yeah.
So Luffy.
So let's talk Luffy.
I am a Mary Sue.
Or Evil Dead.
Ash Ketchum.
Oh, it's definitely not Evil Dead Ash.
But I honestly, like, especially when more we talk about like Superman and like how his whole thing is his symbol literally means hope. A big thing with Monkey D. Luffy is that, you know, when a lot of people turn, it's like, oh, he literally became a god. He must be running out of ideas. No, you got to understand, he's a god of liberation. And one of the higher people there who almost killed his swordsman even admit that's like, no, Luffy's greatest ability is how he can rally and give people hope and what to fight for at the end on stuff. Because during that whole thing when he became a god, he legit died. But he was also just like, no, he had to come back because he was helping an entire group of samurais regain their country after an emperor enslaved them for over 20 years. It's
I don't think I know what
Luffy
One Piece
cosplayers
is
coming
about.
out to protest is one of the most One Piece things some people can do.
Hey, I don't think we understood what One Piece was about.
It was the pirate one.
It is the pirate one.
That is the pirate.
Okay,
That is
real
a
quick
pirate
for the
who
record,
brings hope
I'm
back
making
to
a joke.
people.
I'm making a joke. It's a silly joke about the pirate anime becomes about like godhood and liberation. Like I realized real quick I was a woman on the
It
internet.
makes a
I was
hard turn
very
down
clear.
Al-
Of course,
down
I
anime
understand
alley.
One
Honestly,
Piece.
like when the live action reaches season 3, everyone's gonna finally understand. So this is where all the Luffy would free Palestine shirts came from.
Yes, it would.
No, that's literally he 100% would. It's like yes, of course he would. And it's
course
like
he
he
would.
would probably free the United States if he gave him taco and just gave him current events. It's like,
Yep.
oh yeah, I'm gonna punch him back into the manga right now.
Yep.
Which he's also done.
All right.
I love some Ace Rep Luffy right here.
Yeah. With all that being said, I think that's all the points I had on it with this. The important thing is like, Darren's right. It's a term. It's the term that's been thrown around a lot and really needs to be real about it. It should just go back in the box where it came from.
Put it
back into the box.
It means one thing very specifically.
Mary Sue, let's just get you back in your nice little thing. Have some cookies.
Give her her cookies. And she's an SCP who escaped containment. Everyone do your part.
If you like creepy stuff, it's really.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's
Leo,
great.
get us out of here.
All right, but with that being said, this is Gaming Theater Podcast. Thanking our guests for showing up and thanking our audience for showing up.
Yay, thank you for
And with that being
Yeah, thank you for coming.
said, this is Gaming Theater Podcast. Logging out. Bye, everybody.
Take
Tell me,
care.
gente.
Gaming Theater Podcast is hosted, created, produced, and edited by Leo Garcia, the Geek Scorpio. Our music is A Drinking Game. Stock media provided by Stormwave Audio /Pond5. Our cover art is by Adam Parker. You can find him at ParkerGFX on Twitter. If you want to send us some money to help with these episodes, you can do so at patreon.com /gamingtheaterpresents. Want to send support that doesn't hit your wallet? Please leave a review with wherever you hear your podcasts and share our podcast with your friends. It really helps out. Thank you for listening.